Today's Read-Alaudamus Read Aloud is Islandborn by Junot Diaz, illustrated by Leo Espinosa. Every kid in Lola's school was from somewhere else. Hers was the school of faraway places. Mine was from a city so big that it was like its own country. India and Camila were from a stony village at the tippy top of the world. Mateo had lived in a desert so hot even the cactus fainted. Nu was born in a jungle famous for its tigers and its poets. And Lola was from the island. You can see in the picture all the kids are walking to school, some of them with cousins or friends, some of them with their parents, the crossing guards helping out. It's snowing. Everything is white on the ground. And the kids are excitedly going up the stairs inside the building to their classrooms. So when her teacher, Miss Obi, told the class, "Please draw a picture of the country you are originally from, your first country, and bring it in tomorrow," everyone got super excited. "I'm going to put in pyramids," said Dahlia. "And I'll draw a canal this long," Franklin said. "There's going to be a mongoose in mine," Nelson yelled. Nelson always yelled. Everyone was talking about their drawings. Everyone but Lola. Lola, you see, loved to draw. But she had left the island when she was just a baby, so she didn't remember any of it. You can see Miss Obi walking past the desk, and the kids are already so excited they're starting to do their work. They're talking to each other and describing things. But then there's Lola, just staring up into space. She doesn't know what to do. Lola raised her desk, asking Miss Obi questions. Raising her hand almost as much as she That is a great idea. Yelling. "Miss, what if you don't remember where you're from? What if you left before you could start remembering?" "No problema," Miss Obi said. "Are there people around you who do remember?" "Like my whole neighborhood," Lola said. "And they're always talking about the island." "Well then," Miss Obi started, "maybe." But Lola finished her sentence. "I should talk to everyone who does remember. I should draw from their memories." "That's a very good plan, Lola," Miss Obi said with a smile. Lola started feeling better about the assignment, but then she saw all the other kids chatting excitedly about what they were going to draw, and it made her sad. Everybody was remembering their first home, even Nelson, who forgot everything. Nelson even forgot his last name once, for like an hour. Lola had always wanted to remember the island, but no matter how hard she tried, she never could. It was like a familiar word just at the tip of your tongue. But instead of a word, this was an entire world. Lola closed her eyes and tried to recall anything about the island. But nothing came up. She kept trying all through the school day. To help her focus, she put her fingers on the sides of her head like her Abuela psychic sometimes did. You can see her there, sitting under the tree, closing her eyes and trying to remember. And you can also see the photo of all the other kids, describing the animals that they lived near, the pyramids, the canal, the trees, the plants. "Are you okay?" her cousin Leticia asked as they walked home from school together. "I have to draw a picture of the island," Lola exclaimed. "But I was just a baby when we left." "Prima, you have to help me. I don't remember a lot either, except for the bats. They were as big as blankets and they used to chase after me at night." "Blanket bats? Lola pulled out her notebook and began to sketch. You can see them excitedly talking to each other. Prima means cousin. And you can see these bats that have beautiful blanket wings. Some of them are checkered, some of them are polka dotted. They're blues and purples and yellows. And the people in the neighborhood are a little surprised. And they're running away from these big blanket bats. You can also see the beautiful flowers and plants of the island at the bottom of the page. Pink leaves, green leaves, big leaves, tiny, tiny leaves, and beautiful flowers. Leticia stopped Mrs. Bernard, who always sold them crispy empanadas after school. Mrs. Bernard, what do you remember most about the island? Why, the music, of course. The whole country is like the inside of a guera, like the inside of a drum. You mean like our neighborhood, Lola said. The neighborhood had so much music, it was like a radio with the dial broken off. On the island, there's even more music. There's more music than air, and everyone is always dancing. Even in their sleep, people dance. Sleep dancing, Lola sketched. You can see the neighborhood. Mrs. Bernard's empanada stand has a little radio, and there's a music box playing with the grocer. There's music coming out of the music store. The postman and some people in the street are just dancing away. Leticia led Lola into the barbershop that her brother Jonathan owned. Lola has to do an assignment about the island. She needs to know what you remember most about it. Wepa, said Jonathan, laughing. The agua de coco. How wonderful it tastes when you drink it right from the coconut. Mr. Rodriguez sat up in the chair. And the mangoes that are the size of your head and so sweet. They make you want to cry, Lola said. She loved mangoes. That's it, exactly. Wepa is a word that means excitement, like, oh yeah. And agua de coco is coconut water. And mangoes are a tropical fruit. The man in the barbershop chair is imagining holding a giant mango the size of his head. And he's weeping. He's so happy. And the barber is pretending to drink out of a giant, fresh coconut. How much color there is, said the woman waiting with her son. Colorful cars, colorful houses, flowers everywhere. Even the people are like a rainbow. Every shade ever made. Like us in here, Lola said. Even more color, the woman said. Agua, mango heads, rainbow people. Lola was trying to keep up. The island sounds so beautiful. Why did we even leave? Well, it isn't all beautiful, the woman's son said. The heat is on you like 5 bullies, the oldest barber muttered, and other things. Like what? Lola wanted to ask, but the oldest barber had already turned away. They're showing a picture of what's inside Lola's notebook. Rainbow people, beautiful houses in 8, 9, 10 different colors. So much color. People in different colors. Purple people, red people, yellow people. Blue people. And the cars and the motorbikes. Even the bus has different colored things hanging off of it. In the lobby of their building, the cousins ran into Mr. Mir, the superintendent. Leticia called out, "Hey, Mr. Mir, can you tell us what you most remember about the island?" "Nobody cares about that old stuff," Mr. Mir grumbled. "Just be glad that you live here." "Don't listen to him," Leticia said. "Keep going and call me later if you need any help, okay?" "I will," Lola said. Why do you think Mr. Mir was so grumpy? The oldest barber was pretty grumpy too. I wonder what it is about some people in the island. You can see Letitia and Lola upset that Mr. Mir won't share his memories. Mr. Mir upset that he's been asked. When Lola got into the elevator, she put her fingers on her temples and closed her eyes. "Island," she called, like it was a cat. "Island." But like a cat, the island did not come. You see her all alone in the elevator, her eyes tightly squeezed shut, trying so hard to remember, her hands at the side of her face. At home, Lola found her Abuela at the kitchen table trying to finish a puzzle. Abuela loved puzzles. "Abuela, I'm supposed to draw a picture of the island for school, but I don't remember it. Why don't I remember it?" "Hia, you were just a baby when you left. But the other kids remember. Just because you don't remember a place doesn't mean it's not in you." "Will you tell me what you remember most?" Lola asked. "Abuela means grandmother." What do you think that means if you don't remember a place? Does it mean it's not in you? There are two parakeets in a birdcage just above Abuela, and she's working on a puzzle about a deer. There's plants all around. And Lola's writing in her sketchbook while Abuela talks to her. There's a picture of lemonade on the table and the cat's trying to get to it. Of course. What I remember most is the beaches. Here, our beaches are poetry. You know when you hear your favorite poem? That's how it is to be on our beaches. Fish jump from the waves into your lap. And at sunset, sometimes the dolphins will come out of the water to bow goodnight. And up north where I'm from, there are even whales in the surf. Beach poetry, dolphins, surfing whales. Lola sketched as fast as she could. Hia means daughter. And you can see her picture. She's got the blanket bat up at the top. Colorful, colorful palm trees. And Grandma and her sitting on the beach as the fish swim into their laps. Dolphins coming to wave at them. And whales off in the distance. Lola's mother stuck her head in from the kitchen. Hia, what I remember most is the hurricane that hit the island right after you were born. Like the biggest, baddest wolf of all. It huffed and puffed and blew thousands of houses into the sky. Where were we? Lola asked, her eyes wide. We were hiding under the bed is where we were, Abuela said. That's right, her mother said. And you know what? You never cried once. You were such a brave little girl. I wish I could remember that, Lola sighed. Well, it happened, her mother said. You might not remember the island, but it remembers you. There's a picture of them in their house, under the bed, holding on to each other tight. Lola is a tiny, tiny baby swaddled in a pink blanket. Around them you can see crazy winds and houses flying, bicycles flying, cars flying in the wind. You should really talk to Mr. Mir, Abuela suggested. He knows more about the island than almost anybody. We tried asking him, Lola said, but he didn't want to help. Mr. Mir can be a little grouchy sometimes. Let me talk to Mrs. Mir. I bet we can get him to help. Abuela called downstairs and shouted at Mrs. Mir, who then shouted at Mr. Mir. The old people were always shouting at each other. That's how they talked. Maybe Nelson was an old person in training. Go on down, Abuela said. Mr. Mir said he would try to help. There's Abuela on the phone. You can hear there's some noise coming out of the phone that's pretty loud. She's turned to Lola and she's saying, "You can go down." Lola's standing there with her sketch pad and pencil. She's not sure, but she's smiling. Mr. Muir looked up from the contraption he was fixing. "Your grandma says you've been interviewing people about the island." Lola nodded nervously. "Yes, sir, it's for a class assignment." "What have they told you?" She flipped through her sketches. "Bad blankets, more music than air, fruit that makes you cry, beach poems, and a hurricane like a wolf." "I see," Mr. Muir said. "So no one told you about the monster?" Lola's eyes got wide. She shook her head no. Even those who know don't always want to talk about him. Mr. Muir turned toward the old worn map he had of the island. "Our island has always been a beautiful place. It was when I was your age, and it is today. But even the most beautiful places can attract a monster. A long time ago, long before you were born, that's exactly what happened. A monster fell upon our poor island." For once, Lola's pencil didn't move. Mr. Muir's looking at his map. He looks sad. And Lola's watching Mr. Muir. She's not moving. She's just listening with a lot of focus on what he's saying. They're in his workshop. He's at his workbench, surrounded by gadgets and tools. It was the most dreadful monster anyone had ever seen. The whole island was terrified, and no one could defeat it. It was just too strong. For 30 years, the monster did as it pleased. It could destroy an entire town with a single word and make a whole family disappear simply by looking at it. Lola's curly hair was uncurling with fear. "Did you see the monster, Mr. Muir?" "Yes, all the time." "Were you scared?" "We were all very scared." In Lola's imagination, the monster is like a giant green bat. And you can see it there on the side, rushing through the waves. Everything's running from it. People and animals. Even the blanket bats don't want to be near it. Birds are flying away. The waves are trying to crash into the shore to get away from it. Lola's heart was pounding. "So what happened next, Mr. Muir?" "What should always happen to monsters? Heroes rose up. Strong, smart young women just like you, Lola. And a few strong, smart young men too. They got tired of being afraid and fought the monster. What a titanic battle that was. The whole island shook from their struggle. The monster tried all of its evil tricks, but in the end, the heroes found the monster's weakness and banished it forever. You can see the monster slowly sinking into the ocean while all the heroes of the island stand together, hand in hand, to defeat it. You can see music notes and beautiful flowers. "Wow," Lola whispered. "What happened to the heroes?" "No one knows really. It was so long ago." Mr. Muir took off his glasses and sighed. "Anyway, you should get back upstairs. It's getting close to dinner time." "Thank you, Mr. Muir," Lola said. "Thank you for all your help." She has her hand on the door and she's about to step out. Mr. Muir's holding a picture that says Salcedo, and him and his wife are waving Lola goodbye. Outside the window, one of those blanket bats is watching. Wow means wow, and Salcedo is a place. "How did it go?" Lola's mother asked. "It was really good," Lola looked at the blank page in her hands. Her mother's in the kitchen finishing off dinner, and her grandmother's having a cup of tea. Lola spent the rest of the night drawing the island. She started out with one page, but she needed more room. So she added another page and then another, and soon she had a book. She worked through dinner, and she worked in bed, and was just finishing the last touches on the cover when her Abuela came in to check on her. You can see her drawing there, and the imagination of her pictures. She has the bats again with the music and the beautiful flowers. There's a little dolphin watching her draw with fish nearby. And then her Abuela opens the room to check on her. Abuela picked up a drawing of the final battle, and she got really still. There's Lola in her grandmother's arms, and Abuela's looking at the picture of the bat and all the people trying to defeat the bat monster. Abuela, did you know about the monster? Of course, Hia. Why do you think so many of us are here in the north? Lola put her arms around her Abuela. You must have been so scared. Sometimes we were, her Abuela whispered, but we were also brave. Lola gives her Abuela a big hug, and you can see her color pencils all over the floor and her drawings, and there's some cookies and milk, and they're just having a nice big hug. The next day it snowed. Lola put on her scarf and boots and stuffed her assignment under her coat. Benedición, Mommy. Benedición, Abuela. Benedición, Hia, they both called. Good luck. Mr. Mir was pushing garbage cans against the curb. Thank you, Mr. Mir, slayer of monsters. He laughed. Good luck, Lola, daughter of heroes. Benedición means blessings. They're telling her to have a good day. And you can see one of those adorable blanket bats in a warmer blanket with a little furry cap on. And Letitia and Lola are walking to school. The cat's peeking out on the steps behind her mother and her grandmother, and Mr. Mir is waving to them from where he's putting trash cans on the curb. In class, all the students were buzzing about their pictures. Nelson's mother had baked cupcakes for everyone, so it was like a little party. Ms. Obi hung the drawings on the wall. Now our classroom has windows, she said. Anytime you want to look at one another's first homes, all you have to do is look out the windows. And there on the wall are everybody's pictures of where they came from. The kids are enjoying their cupcakes. Lola's at her desk with her cupcake. Lola's at her desk with her cupcake. Then Miss Obi reached Lola's desk. So how did it go, Lola? Were you able to remember anything? I tried really hard, but nothing came, and that made me feel bad. But then I realized that I don't have to feel bad, because even if I'd never set foot on the island, it doesn't matter. The island is me. Nelson snorted. That is so corny. It is not. Nelson, be nice, Miss Obi said. She and the other students gathered around Lola's desk. Nelson made sure he got really close so he could see everything. Lola suddenly got nervous. Go ahead, Lola, show us. Okay, Lola said, taking a deep breath. She opened her book. All the kids are gathered around with their cupcakes, and they're listening to her, and they're about to look at her book, and Nelson's right next to her with his elbows on the desk. Miss Obi's telling her to open the book. And out bursts the island! The whale and the fish and people dancing and the wolves and the angry warriors throwing spears at the bat monster. a man holding the mango a size of a small child and riding his bicycle, and of course the blanket bats, empanadas, coconuts, flowers, palm trees. What a beautiful picture. And it shows Lola holding the book open, and the island has burst out through her drawings, and everyone can take a look at it.